What incident will traumatize you for the rest of your life? What happened to me while I was in jail? I got arrested after making the dumb mistake of driving without a driver's license, then telling the officer that I was my sister. About 4 weeks into my incarceration, I began getting severe headaches. It got so bad that I put in a request to go to medical and see the jail physician assistant. After seeing her for the first time and describing the pain that I felt in my nose that spread to the top of my head, I was told that I was suffering from a sinus infection. I accepted that as a plausible explanation and took the antibiotics that were prescribed to me. A week went by and the pain was getting worse, not better. I again requested to go to medical and was again seen by the physician assistant. I told her the pain was getting severe, that it had spread to the side of my face and the back of my neck, and asked to be taken to the hospital. The physician assistant told me that she was not sending me to the hospital, that hospital visits were only reserved for emergencies, and she had concluded I had an impacted tooth. A day went by and I was in complete agony. I was unable to move my head even the slightest bit without feeling as if my entire head would explode. The pain was so bad that I couldn't eat or sleep. All I did was lay on my bunk sobbing. I begged every CO on shift to help me. Different sergeants were called in to talk to me and I begged them to send me to the hospital, but was always refused. About 9 days after my headaches began, I developed double vision. I told the nurse that was handing out meds that I had constant double vision. I remember telling her, "There's 2 of you." I was instructed to put in a slip to request to go to medical. A few hours after the double vision began, I was talking to another inmate when she went, "Oh my God, your eyes, they've shifted." I went into my cell and looked into the mirror and was horrified to see that I had gone cross-eyed. I had been calling my mom every day telling her that I knew something was very wrong with me. After seeing that I had gone cross-eyed, I called my mom hysterically, told her I was cross-eyed, and asked her to call the jail and see if she could persuade them to take me to the hospital. Everyone my mom called and spoke to on the phone or talked to in person at the jail would assure her that I was getting adequate medical care. I requested to speak with a sergeant, and after about an hour, one showed up to talk to me. I showed him my eyes, told him my vision was doubled, told him I was in the worst pain of my life, and pleaded with him to send me to the hospital. I told him that I knew something was seriously wrong, that I knew if I wasn't treated soon, I would pass away, to which he sarcastically said, "I didn't know that you're a doctor. Go back to your cell. You can go to medical in the morning." The next morning, after about 10 sleepless, agonizing nights, I discovered I could no longer walk properly. Instead of my normal stride, I was now walking with small shuffled steps. I felt very unbalanced, like everything was spinning. I was on a second-story tier, and it was nearly impossible for me to get down the stairs. I was again sent to medical, and this time I was told that I was not going to the hospital, to stop bothering the COs and sergeants, and that all this was your own fault for taking other inmates' medication. I was completely stunned and adamantly denied that I had taken anyone else's medication. The physician assistant said that I must have, that it was the only explanation for my eyes going cross, and that it was obviously a drug reaction. I cried and told her it wasn't true, that it was something neurological, and begged to go to the hospital. I told her that I was positive I was going to pass away, begged her to save me. Cold as ice, she called in the CO, and said, "Take her back to her cell. Tell everyone to stop bringing her here. She's wasting my time." I felt absolutely helpless. I was sure that I was gravely ill and that the jail administration was just going to let me pass away in my cell, alone and scared, in complete agony. I was moved to the ground floor as a safety precaution and laid on my bunk, basically waiting to either become unconscious or pass away. The other inmates became involved, told staff they had to help me, but were met with deaf ears. About 2 hours later, I remember adjusting my head, and I immediately felt the pain in my head and neck. That caused me to start screaming uncontrollably. It felt like my brain was too big for my head and my head would explode. The sergeant on duty was called, and when he came to my cell, I recalled saying, "Please, you have to help me. I'm a human being. I'm only 26 years old. Please don't let me pass away in here." I was overwhelmed with joy and gratitude when he replied, "Okay, get your shoes on. We'll get you checked out." I sobbed uncontrollably and just kept thanking him. He had to keep his arm around me to help me walk up the hall. We got to the end of the hall, and he stopped to open a side door and let me in. We entered a room with a desk, 2 cells, and a shower. He opened the cell door to one of the cells and set me down on a wood bench. He left, shutting the door behind him. I asked him, "When am I going to the hospital?" To which he replied, "You're not. We can't have you screaming like that, bothering everyone on the unit. You are staying in constant watch until you can grow up." I was absolutely devastated. I was being held in the cells they usually use to watch people who are insane. Then,